Good evening. Welcome to Big Blues Explorations. Today we're going to discuss about the first trip of 2024. A trip to the US and Canada. Like most of my trips, the planning began about 5 or 6 months out. This year I decided I really wanted to get to silver in one world. To do that, I required 600 tier points. When I began planning this trip, I thought about Alaska, one of the hardest to reach places within the US. Looking at my options, I found that Alyedka Airlines offers some reasonable connections to get there from airports such as Seattle, Dallas-Fort Worth, and Phoenix Sky Harbor. Looking at the connections, I figured that Seattle was my best bet. The benefits from going to Seattle is that it is also a great connection point to other places that I had previously gone and also wanted to visit, being Mt Bachelor in Oregon, as well as Red Mountain just over the border in Canada. When I started planning the trip, I already knew that Alyedka Airlines first class flights were quite competitive, about 30% more expensive than an economy ticket, but you got the benefit of getting 2 bags. So looking at this, I worked out that I would get 40 tier points even for flights that were only about 40 minutes to an hour long. So when doing the crunching for this flight, I worked out that I could take 7 sectors within the US for around $900. Pound to tier point of about £2. Quite acceptable in my book. Also, when looking at flights to the US, I found that the premium economy, which delivers significantly more, up to 70 tier points per leg, I found that I could also add an extra sector when returning via Phoenix Sky Harbor to Charlotte. And I settled upon Seattle to Charlotte, which added an additional 40 tier points, thus bringing it to an option that was very convenient. Alyeska, an extremely cold place. The skiing is crisp, the days are short, the scenery is fantastic. When I arrived in Alaska, after numerous flights, I stopped off in Fairbanks. Very, very cold. Negative 36 degrees Celsius outside. Needless to say, I only spent about 40 minutes having a walk just outside airport perimeter before returning. A stop which added additional tier points and another landing and takeoff on the way to Anchorage. That evening I arrived in Anchorage and my hostel was generous enough to pick me up. The first day skiing in Alyeska, I was underdressed. I had the extra layers on, I knew it was going to be cold, and oh boy, it was cold. The snow remained crisp for much longer than it would in other parts of the world, like France, Switzerland, or the US, meaning that the run's condition was significantly improved until around 1 or 2 o'clock. Being so early in the Alaskan season, the resort closed before 4 o'clock, and there was night skiing during the weekend, if weather permitted. The second day, I did end up wearing my down jacket, which luckily enough at 800 fill was quite sufficient to keep me warm for the second and third days of my trip. The scenery was amazing. The people were nice and generous, as you find in environments which are cold or hot, where it is remote and the outdoors can be dangerous. Interesting fact that in Alaska it is mandatory to leave your doors open on cars and houses in case of bear attacks. Luckily, in this trip, there wasn't any bear attacks, but did see a fully grown moose literally 5 yards from the window trying to get a little bit warm, or compared to being out on the exposed mountains around us. After going to Alyeska, I went to a more warmer climate, being Mt Bachelor in Oregon. Mt Bachelor as a resort is simply excellent. Unlike Alyeska, which gets a 6.5 out of 10, most of those are for the varied terrain, the availability of a good accommodation at reasonable prices, and the lack of points is down to the accessibility and the built-up nature of the resort, or the lack thereof. At Mt Bachelor, it gets a 9. This is purely because it takes half an hour to 40 minutes to get there from Bend every day and back again. The skiing is situated on a former volcano. Around 4,000 acres of skiing, 7-8 lifts. About 1,200 of those acres are on top of the volcano and the backside, which are only accessible 5-10% of the year. So sometimes you will go for a week and you won't get to ski some of the most extreme terrain. Even the terrain that is not as extreme is still worth the while. Long slopes, wide and narrow, with a large amount of snowfall, make Mt Bachelor an excellent destination in its own right. And the best part is it's quiet, because not that many people know about it. People know more about Colorado, Steamboat, Copper Mountain, or Aspen or going down to Lake Tahoe in California. But this truly, out of all the resorts that I've been to, 46 and now in total, makes it into my top 5 globally, with the likes of Zermatt, Aspen, and several others. It's well worth a visit, and even for a family vacation, it would also be very engaging and offers lots of availability of accommodation and the classic American ski town centre, which may be small but has a large variety. Due to the ever-expanding nature of Bend, there is plenty of places to stay, from low-end budget to middle-end accommodation, with chain hotels as well as B&Bs and more upmarket hotels. Thank you for listening this week, and next week we'll continue the 2024 adventures, discussing about other places that I visited. Thank you very much.